I'm John Arthur Eaves, and I'm running for governor because I believe it's time for a new day in Mississippi. I'm tired of hearing our leaders tell the great people of Mississippi to lower their expectations. And frankly, I'm sick and tired of Mississippians always being last when it comes to jobs, health care, poverty, and education. And then hearing our leaders say, well, what do you expect? I expect a whole lot more. And so I'm running for governor to declare that the era of low expectations is over and a new day is dawning in the great state of Mississippi. I believe that the highest calling is to serve others, and that's what I want to do for the great people of Mississippi. You know, I have traveled all over this world, and I have met so many people, but the best people in the whole wide world live right here in Mississippi. You know, we see it in Mississippians. We see it in the overcoming spirit after Katrina, and we see it in the great soul of Mississippi that is reflected through our art and our literature, in our music. We are the home of the blues and country music and rock and roll music, all right here in the great state of Mississippi, because it's an outpouring of the great soul that Mississippians have. And I'm also proud of the big heart that Mississippians have. You know, Mississippi, despite being the poorest state, gives more of what we have to charity than any other state in our nation. It is time for us to treasure the great people of Mississippi and to place their interests first. That's why I believe that one of the first priorities we have to do is to give our kids a good education, and that begins with fully funded education every single day, not just election years. As governor, I will fully fund education as a priority first in our budget, and then figure out the rest of the budget. Our children need and deserve it. As you know, Mississippi has a shortage right now of 1,200 qualified teachers. I have a plan that will raise taxes on casinos 2% in order to pay for the increased cost, so we can increase teacher pay 5% every year until we reach the Southeastern average, and then 3% a year after that to keep up with the cost of living for our teachers. But in the same way that we're not going to measure our education simply by our test scores, neither should we simply measure our achievement of our children by that also. That's why I believe that we need to bring back school prayer to schools, as long as it's two qualities. First, that it's voluntary, and second, that it's student-led, so we can have a foundation upon which to build discipline, self-respect, respect for others, and respect for our Creator. That's what I want to see with education. You know, but education is not the only need of our people. In Mississippi, we also need good health care. We live in a system that is broken today. And in fact, right now, Mississippians, through taxes and through their insurance premiums, are paying for the cost of the uninsured. Every Mississippi family pays $747 per year to make up the cost of the uninsured. We're already paying that great burden when people come to the emergency room and can't pay. And so that's why I have a plan. It really begins with our children. But instead of kicking people, the children, elderly off Medicaid, I want to expand health coverage, and that's the difference. This 150,000 children that we have in our state, their parents make too much to qualify for Medicaid, too much to qualify for S-CHIP, but not enough to afford insurance. Our plan, called Kids Care, would shift that burden to preventive care instead of emergency room care. Not only would we be doing the right thing as far as helping the suffering and the death and disability of children, we would also be doing the economical thing. Because for every dollar we spend on the program in preventive care, we're going to save $2. We need to do it. It is the right thing, and it is the best thing for Mississippi. And the final thing is we have to know in this election who we serve. Really, it is the fundamental question of this whole race. And so, therefore, it is disturbing to me, in fact, it is troubling to me, that we have a governor that vetoed the grocery tax swap, while his lobbying firm, by public records, has shown that he received over $6 million during the time before and during he's been governor. He vetoed it twice and killed it a third time. Mississippians have the highest grocery tax in the nation and the lowest tobacco tax of any non-producing state. Frankly, I'm embarrassed, because not only do we need to be cutting the grocery tax to help those families on fixed incomes, We need to be increasing the tobacco tax to keep our kids from getting hooked on cigarette. It is the right thing to do. It is the best thing for the health of our community. It is the best thing to help Mississippians get by. But this governor vetoed it. So we must ask the question of why. Now, he likes to claim that he's hiding his assets, that he doesn't know what's in his blind trust. He doesn't know how much Barber, Griffin, and Rogers, the lobbying firm who receives this money, is paying him into his bank account. But the facts are this: as reported by national and state news media sources, we know the following things. We know, first of all, that Haley Barber flew on a state plane this summer to Barber, Griffin, and Rogers and met with them. We also know that the trustee over this blind trust, who's supposed to keep it confidential, is also a childhood friend of Haley Barber's. And we also know by the governor's own statements, when he said that he's receiving only retirement from the blind trust, how would he know what he's receiving from the blind trust unless he was peeking? You know, it's disturbing that we have a governor who has acted against the best interests of the people of Mississippi time and again. We have seen it here. We have seen it in Katrina contracts, when his niece received Katrina contracts, when his former clients like Ashbrook and Resnick received these huge contracts that took money out of our state. Imagine what we could have done with Mississippi businesses if we had had bid contracts and we'd had legislative oversight and we'd had state preference laws where Mississippi businesses would have got those jobs and Mississippi workers could have gone to work. Instead of being 36th in unemployment in the nation, now we're 49th in unemployment in the nation. We could have been the model for the nation about what economic development means to our state. I believe, and I'm glad we have a lot of businesses in this state like Toyota and Nissan, but we need to be helping those Mississippi businesses. They've got their roots in Mississippi. They've got their families in Mississippi, and they have overcome obstacles to stay in Mississippi and compete. And so it is important that we stand up and treat those businesses fairly, just like we would any company that comes to Mississippi. Let's treat our Mississippi businesses first. You know, there are a lot of issues in this campaign. There are a lot of discussions in this campaign, a lot of specific issues that affect all of our families, whether it's grocery tax relief, whether it is health care for all Mississippians, where it is Medicaid cuts, where it is fully funding education, where there is the fact that tuition has gone up 25% in our state. You know, it's not a record that Haley should be proud about when he looks at the number of jobs that have left Mississippi, when he looks at Mississippi has the highest rate of infant mortality, that Mississippi now has the highest dropout rate in the nation. It's not a record he should be proud about. But the question in this race is one question, and it all goes back to this: who do you serve? I want to serve the great people of Mississippi in order to serve my Creator, and that's the difference.